What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Titans. I'm Profane, and thank you for checking out the video. Today we're back at it with another amazing build, and today's build will give you a little bit of everything. You're going to have incredible survivability benefits to get you through the toughest of engagements. You're going to have all the tools necessary to clear through the biggest waves of enemies, and you're going to deal out more damage to bosses than you ever thought possible. And this has been made possible thanks to the recent changes that have introduced 5 new artifact mods into the Hunter's Journal artifact. So if you've been struggling to hold your own in Grandmaster Nightfalls, or if you've been hitting the bottom of the damage charts in raids and dungeons, then this will most definitely be a build that you will need to check out. This build features the Hazardous Propulsion exotic chest piece. This is in many ways a Titan version of the Lucky Pants. The Hazardous Propulsion provides the Danger Close intrinsic trait, and this does 2 things for us. As we defeat enemies with any weapon, we'll build up stacks of Hazardous rockets. Precision final blows will fill these up faster, but it will also be charged up by non-precision final blows and by landing precision hits. Once you've built up charges of Hazardous rockets, you'll be able to release those when performing your class ability. At a full charge, this will release 6 kinetic rockets, and they'll automatically track down nearby enemies, unloading a ton of damage. And once those rockets have landed, we'll receive a 10-second damage bonus to rockets, which will apply to any weapon that fires out rockets. This includes all standard rocket launchers and all of the rocket sidearms. Rockets discharged by the Quicksilver Storm and the other Neomuna weapons also get this bonus. So will the Ergo Sum and the Grand Overture. The amount of bonus rocket damage that you get will be based on how many Hazardous rockets landed. If 1 hit, then you're going to get 10%. But if you get all 6 to hit, that's going to jump up to a 35% bonus. This chest piece single-handedly propels the damage potential of any Titan setup, as long as rockets are being used, and it makes for a much more streamlined build than the Pyrogale or the Curus do. And we'll be going over how to maximize the efficiency of this exotic, so that we can squeeze out every bit of bonus damage. Our choice in weapon loadouts will change based on the activity and the modifiers to those activities. But for the most part, we plan on using the Dragon's Breath as our exotic of choice. The Dragon's Breath is an incredible source of easy damage. You hit the target and let those exploding projectiles do the rest of the work. This will also create fire sprites, and when used against large groups of enemies, this will quickly fill up those charges of Hazardous rockets. I also find myself getting more heavy bricks whenever using the Dragon's Breath. I can't completely confirm it, but it just feels like I get more heavy, way more so than when I use other heavy exotic weapons. Unless we have to change up because of champions, we are going to be using 2 rocket sidearms, the Call and the Aberrant Action. Rocket sidearms will charge up Hazardous rockets at a much faster rate than most any other weapon does, and they're incredibly powerful right now. The Indebted Kindness would be a great alternate, but the Aberrant Action does come with Heal Clip, which will help keep us alive, and it also comes with Incandescent, which will help us clear through bigger groups of enemies much faster. There's also some additional benefits that Incandescent receives, and we'll talk about those here soon. The Hazardous Propulsion is an agnostic exotic, meaning that it can be used on any subclass, but it's on Prismatic and Solar that we're able to truly unlock the full potential of the Hazardous Propulsion. And we'll be touching base on all the benefits that each of these subclasses have to offer, and I'll be leaving a Mobalytics link for both down in the description. I do find Prismatic to offer better survivability, better crowd control, and better overall synergy with the Hazardous Propulsion, but there's a few key benefits that we'll have with Solar thanks to those new artifact mods. So let's go ahead and dive into those real quick. As I mentioned before, there are 5 new artifact mods, but we're mainly focused on just one, and that is Solar Fulmination. This causes individual solar ignitions to trigger twice instead of just once, and each ignition will deal more damage to a larger radius. So why is that important to us? Because we are using the Dragon's Breath, which triggers multiple ignitions, and it spreads Scorch. And we're also using a rocket sidearm that comes with incandescent. And when those get put onto a solar build, some interesting things start to happen, because we'll be able to have Ember of Ashes, which doubles the amount of Scorch that gets applied from any source, which will include the Aberrant Actions Incandescent and the Dragon's Breath. This is going to cause ignitions to trigger faster, and because of Ember of Char, ignitions will spread Scorch, and that's going to be increased because of Solar Fulmination. We also have Ember of Torches, which will give us Radiance, so that we'll have a 20% bonus in weapon damage. And we also have Ember of Singeing, which is going to give us a 400% increase to the regeneration rate of our class ability whenever we scorch enemies, allowing us to activate our Exodus rockets much more often. Since Solar Fulmination is going to increase the damage of all of our ignitions, we'll be able to take that benefit into our super, our grenades, our throwing hammer, and our consecrations. With Solar, we'll have other benefits like Cure and Restoration, and Soul Invictus, which will greatly improve our ability to stay alive. But when we use Prismatic, we're getting Transcendence, which is an absolute thrill ride, because we're able to just spam all of our abilities, including our class ability. We're able to use Thrusters, which has a much shorter cooldown time than the typical Barricade does. And this will be a significant benefit, because we'll be able to quickly charge those Exodus rockets with rocket sidearms and the Dragon's Breath. I also like Thrusters because of the added mobility factor, plus you don't have to wait on the Barricade animation. So if we want to give our rockets a consistent bonus in damage, we'll need to have our class ability back as often as possible. The Prismatic subclass also lets us use up to 3 consecrations, with the added benefit of Knockout, which helps give us bonus melee damage and bonus health recovery, and those consecrations will deal more damage because of Solar Fulmination. Knockout is going to let us become amplified, and when we're amplified, we are able to create Ionic Traces. Ionic Traces help generate class ability energy faster. It also increases our reload speed and our weapon handling. We even get the benefit of weakening targets when using Prismatic, which would increase the overall amount of damage that we're able to deal. We can weaken enemies through the Twilight Arsenal super, or by equipping Facet of Dominance, which will grant our suppressor grenades with the ability of weakening enemies. This could also be done when using the Buried Bloodline, which is the exotic rocket sidearm. Using the Prismatic subclass opens us up to using several beneficial fragments, including Facet of Ruin, which increases the size and damage of any ignition. We've also got Facet of Dawn to give us Radiance, and we've got Facet of Protection to give us increased damage resistance, something we wouldn't get on a solar build. And we can double down on this bonus resistance with the use of the Galvanic Armor artifact mod, which is going to increase our damage resistance by 30% whenever we're amplified. There's a few artifact mods that we'll want to use based on which rocket sidearm we have equipped. Logic Reductor will help the Aberrant Action, but Winning Hand will help the Call, and Overcharged Armory will cause all 3 of these to be overcharged whenever the overcharged modifier is active. Among the 5 new artifact mods, there are 2 others that will be beneficial to us, and that is Incendiary Rifle Rounds, which causes solar snipers to apply Scorch, and Sniper's Meditation, which gives sniper rifles a stacking bonus in damage, which ranges from 3% to as much as 15%. This build is all about rockets, but it's also about maximum damage output. So if we were to trade out the Dragon's Breath for the Still Hunt, just as an example, we could still have 1 rocket sidearm and a standard rocket launcher by using something like the Apex Predator or the Cold Comfort, and both of these would be getting increased damage because of the Hazardous propulsion. And then the Still Hunt or one of the other solar snipers like the Whisper or the Uzume would be getting bonus damage because of Incendiary Rounds and Sniper's Meditation. Ultimately, I find it more beneficial to stick with the Dragon's Breath, because you can tag a target or an area and then just swap over to another weapon to deal out even more damage. So if anything, I would put on a Legendary Sniper and keep the Dragon's Breath. Using multiple special weapons can be tricky because of ammo economy, which is why using lead from gold on these weapons will be invaluable. You'll also need to be sure to utilize heavy ammo finder so that lead from gold will actually benefit. You may also find it necessary to use a special finisher mod so that your finishers produce special ammo. Otherwise, the main goal of our armor is going to be helping out with class ability regeneration. This is why we're using Focusing Strike, Distribution, and Insulation. We also have mods to generate orbs so that we can use Special Finisher and Weapon Surge mods to increase our damage potential even further. When it comes to the main stats to focus on, Resilience is going to be the big one. This reduces incoming damage by as much as 30%. Maxed out Resilience also reduces our barricade cooldown to just 21 seconds whenever using thrusters. Maxing out Recovery will also be helpful because it'll increase how quickly our health starts to come back after taking damage. Beyond that, I would recommend focusing towards Strength so that we'll have an easier time maintaining Radiance. It's really hard to say which subclass is better. Both Solar and Prismatic offer several great benefits, and the Hazardous Propulsion is like a sponge, soaking up all the goodness so that Titans can share this magic with the world. In the end, I think both of these subclasses are great. It just depends on what kind of activity you're in. But I think for most players out there, the Prismatic version will be a much more beneficial option. So if you've had a hard time putting up consistent damage numbers or clearing out groups of enemies, then it's high time you give the Hazardous Propulsion a try, because this build has never been as strong as it is right now. That's going to bring us to an end of today's build video, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about the Hazardous Propulsion, the current state of Titans, and the current state of Destiny. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian, just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran, just looking for a new place to call home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's down in the description and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And if you need help putting together this build, then be sure to check out the Mobalytics link that's down in the description, where you'll be able to find a ton of great endgame builds. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.